Okay, guys, we're going to look at Microsoft right now and see when is the best time to buy Microsoft. Okay, so let's just dive into it. Let me share my screen. All right, so let's have a look. So we can see that we know that when we do option trading, it is best to just trade the Magnificent Seven and maybe TSM because they're really quality company, right? So right now, if you look at all the Magnificent Seven stocks, we have Amazon still kind of hitting a resistance line. Microsoft is the only one in a drop. Google clear resistance line, right? Don't get in right now. Meta also Meta kind of you can see Meta kind of like rebounded at the support line, but it's still considered quite high. So that's why we haven't really traded Meta. Um, Apple right here, clear resistance right here. So we're not going to trade Apple. Nvidia, this is very, very high right now, hitting a very strong resistance line. So we're not going to trade that. Netflix, the same thing. Netflix is still kind of undervalued right now, but I feel like Microsoft is a more safety bet. So we're going to trade Microsoft. And lastly, we have TSM. It did rebound off the resistance line, but it hasn't reached a previous peak yet. And we know that if you go and Google the September effect, right? If you go and Google the September effect, it means that most of the time during September, the market will have a big correction. And there are multiple studies that, according to statistics, in September, the market actually has more chance of having a bigger correction, right? So we know that the market is overvalued right now, and not a lot of good companies are undervalued. Warren Buffett bought companies, but he still has a lot of cash on hand. So that's why I have been trading really cautiously during this time, right? So if you have positions open, you will have your QQQ. It's going back up, and you would have roughly 2 Microsoft call options. Okay, so now what's the next target for Microsoft, right? So if you've been following my trade, we kind of traded 500 for Microsoft, and we kind of traded 380 for Microsoft. So when should you pull the trigger again to buy Microsoft? So we're gonna basically use Fibonacci retracement tool. This is basically just a tool to help you catch the potential rebound point. Okay, so we're roughly gonna wait for 485. Okay, that's the target price. Well, depending on the condition. If it doesn't reach it, we might still enter. Okay, now so in trading, the most important thing is actually risk control. The most importantly, risk control, right? So I talked about this, right? So if you have the call option right here, it is going to be January 15, 2027. You'll be paying, it was $500 right now. You only need to pay $368 right now. So it's going to be a lot cheaper than the first time that you bought it, right? So it's going to be a lot cheaper. Okay. So now remember that, and you can see I've been keeping you guys very, very safe. I don't want those people who don't have money to lose money in the stock market. If you have money, right, then your capital is a bit bigger, your cash flow is more steady. Then maybe you can trade like $1,000 trades instead of $500 trades, right? So remember, the more you put into the market, the more you could lose, right? So that's why we've been only trading $300 call options so far, just to give you guys a feeling. And just to let you guys know how options feel, because there are a lot of beginners in here, right? So now, however, if you do have money, right? If you do have money, let's say if Microsoft hits the 480, or like if it hits, when I see a green candlestick starting to go back and rebound, then it'll be a good time to buy, right? So a good time to buy if you have money, right? So if you have money, you can start trading $1,000 call options. Okay, if you trade same day, 15th of January 2027, you can start trading $1,000 call options. And let's say if the stock price goes up back to the peak, which is 10% growth on Microsoft, right? 10% growth on Microsoft. Now, remember, this is a very, very long call options. This is 1.5 years. It's 1.5 years. If Microsoft does move up 10% right here, right, you'll be making around $1,255. Okay, if it does go up 10%, right? So that's why I haven't been trading $1,000 call options yet, because the bottom hasn't really come yet, right? Now, when it hits a very strong support line, if you have cash, let's say if you have very large capital, right? If you have very large capital, you can start trading $5,000 call options right here. Now, this is not recommended for people who don't have a lot of money. But if you do, right, if you do have cash, this is how much you get. 10%. This is how much you can get like $2,000, right? You can get $2,000. So almost $3,000, right? Almost $3,000. Now, how do we do the repair strategy? How to do the repair strategy is very, very simple, right? So initially we paid, $500. Now it's going to be worth $368. Now, the hard truth is that it might drop to $100. Okay, it might drop to $100. But like what I said in my previous training video is we're not going to panic. If it drops to $100, right? If it drops to $100, let's see if it drops to $100. See what would happen. So if it drops to $100, ooh, that's crazy. Okay, so 100. Okay, right. So if it does drop to $100, let's see what would happen. Okay, so you drop to, okay, there we go. So you need another 10% crash. So if Microsoft goes down another 10%, okay, it's right here. Which you never know if it's going to happen or not. You never know, right? You just never know, right? So if it does, your $500 will become $100, right? But like I said, don't panic, don't freak out, because if the stock price does crash all the way down here, it means that it's gonna be a lot cheaper when you buy. So initially you were buying $500, then you're buying $300, then you're buying $100. So actually your risk right here becomes lower and lower and lower every single time when you buy it. Okay, and we're buying long call options. We're buying very long call options. You have plenty of time for the stock price to recover, right? And if you've been investing in the stock market, you know that if you just go long term, right, you keep on buying more in a crash and just hold long term, this is where the big money comes in. Okay, so for those who don't have money, right, then you need to decrease your trade. Like, let's say you wait a little bit more. Let's say you always wait for a 50% discount before you enter. Let's say the first one is $500, and you wait until $250 before you enter, and then you wait for $100 before you enter again. So that's how if you don't have a lot of money. Now, if you do have a bit of capital money, then you can do a fixed amount trade, which is $500 every time. Every time you buy $500, every time you buy buy one contract, then you probably buy like one contract again. And here, instead of buying just $100, right, you want to buy 5 contracts at $100 right here, because then that means you'll buy more at the bottom, right? You'll buy more, but more contracts with a cheaper price, so that your $500 can get you 5 contracts. Right, so that's the game plan so far. Okay, so and then this is when this entire stock price rebounds, this is where the big money comes in. Okay, this is exactly where the big money comes in, and this is probably the safest way. It's probably the safest way. If you're doing an uptrend, you never know when like you're not gonna do it now. It's a resistance sign. It's not gonna, you know what I mean. So like that's why we've been. QQQ is kind of fine. It's an index fund. It will always go back. I don't panic about it. So let's solve the Microsoft issue. If I do see so I'm being cautious right now. If I do see like a green candle come out, then maybe the next time that's when we're going to pull the trigger again. Otherwise, right now we already have 2 contracts and we have 1 QQQ, 2 Microsoft contracts. You'd be risking roughly 1,005 already. So we won't be doing any trades because I don't know how much money everyone has, right? So if you do have money, then you can pull the trigger more times, right? Now, if you don't have money, stick with these 2 trades. QQQ always go up. Microsoft, we're going to make the money in a big crash. And when it goes rebound, we will probably have like 20 contracts on hand. And when 20 call option contracts, let me show you if you have 20 call option contracts on hand, let's just use 10 contracts for now, right? So if you use 10 contracts, you'll be getting $3,000. Now, if the stock price does move up 10%, if the stock price doesn't move up 10%, this is good. All right, so make it 800. Okay, yeah, it looks better. So if the stock price does move up 10%, which is right here, right, then you make $5,000. Okay, so that's how we're going to do a repair. Okay, that's how we're doing repair. we're probably not going to get, because there's no, so there's basically two types of trading. The first one is follow trend. You get in at a breakout, and then you cut loss at a breakthrough of the trend, right? So that's what we're not going to do. We're going to do old traditional way, just like stock investing: buy more when the cheap, buy more when the cheap, buy more when the cheap, and you're going to have a lot of contracts in hand. And if you've been doing dollar cost averaging on stocks, you will know what I mean. You will know what I mean. Basically, just buy more, buy more, buy more, and buy more, according to the support levels, and just wait for the rebound. We're doing on quality companies, Magnificent Seven, beautiful tech companies, and that's how we make the big money. Okay. So any questions so far? If any questions, right? You can send me a direct message or comment below. And sometimes in the market crash, I would have to disable the chat just in case people say sell, 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 sell. Because personally, I've been there. If I sell at the bottom, thinking that the market is going to go down, the market starts to rebound. It happens all the time. When you think you want to sell, you can't take anymore, the market rebounds. Happens every single time. Okay, so we're never ever going to sell at the bottom. Okay, we're going to buy more at the bottom. All right, so that's it for the training. So we're just just an update to let you guys know. Okay, so I'm keeping you guys safe, and because yeah. So I want to make sure everyone makes money, and I want to make sure everyone stays safe. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know, and Telegram, comment below. And that's it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. See you guys. Bye-bye.